Welcome to Florida at the voice of college football. We just had a very exciting Gator game in basketball, not football. But the Gators lose Alex Condon in the first 30 seconds of that game. RJ Melendez, basketball play. Probably could have been a foul there. Doesn't grab his shirt there. Don't
Mhm.
really think that's the cause for the injury, but some handsy stuff. But I mean, man, these Gators are becoming a wagon. Like, that's gonna be the title of this video here, and it's the truth. I mean, you go to Auburn, beat them by 9 points, best win in all of college basketball, and then you're in a trap game. I mean, Mississippi State's a top 25 team, so it's like a
Mhm.
trap game against a top 25 team. But like what we're coming off of, this was everyone was calling a trap game. I saw betting sites or people who give out their expert opinions like take Mississippi State. This is a classic loss for Florida or a team in Florida's position. But nope, Gators trail 34-33 at halftime, go on
Mhm.
a 17-0 run to start the second half, and we never looked back. End up winning it 81-68. Mississippi State hit a three-pointer with like 11 seconds left. I mean, defensively, an elite game. Well, Mississippi State, they scored 34 in both halves, with the 34 in the second half, mostly just the last 5 minutes, last 5-7 minutes of the game. Josh Hubbard went 4-12 from three. I think three of those were in like those last 7-ish minutes. I mean, what do you think of this performance from the Gators?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a really gutsy win. Like you said, had trap game written all over it. Good team, ranked game on the road. Going in, essentially playing the entire game without two starters because Elijah Martin, who we expected to play, Todd said was going to play in this game, I think
Yep.
yesterday,
He
ultimately
expected
ruled
him to
out.
play.
Yeah, ultimately ruled out of this game. So he doesn't play. Obviously, Condon, like you said, going down the first 30 seconds, practically didn't play in this game.
Yeah.
You know, to go on the road and do that, I mean, this is the first time Florida's ever won back-to-back road games, ranked road games in
Wow.
program history. Yeah. So, like last game, first time beating number one on the road. This time, first time beating back-to-back road teams or ranked road teams.
Yep.
So, I mean, I just continue to be impressed by this team. They find ways to win even when they have to go to lineups that they're not comfortable with. The way they bounce back coming out of the half. I heard a stat they said on the broadcast that Chris Jans has only lost, I think, 5 times at Mississippi State when they've been leading at the half.
I think that
So
was right. Yeah.
yeah, and then
Remember
to
that.
come out the way they did, shooting 50% in the second half after, like, let's be honest, a pretty poor first half offensively, a lot of wasted possessions, a lot of missed open shots. Didn't play very well, but I mean, came out firing. And I mean, you can't talk about the way they came out without talking about Thomas Houck. I mean,
No.
he was unbelievable, especially in that kind of first 5-ish minutes of the second half. But I mean, really all game, 16 points, I think 16. Yeah. Finished
Yep.
just shy of a triple
Triple
double. Yeah. He had 9 rebounds and 8 assists, I
assists.
believe,
Yep.
if I have that right. Yeah. I
That
mean,
is, yeah.
unreal performance. I think they said Florida's only had like 4 triple doubles ever in program history.
The
So
last one was Chris Chiozza in 2017 against
yeah,
Missouri. And I
yeah.
believe
So
that game, Chris Chiozza had like a buzzer beater layup to beat Missouri. So I think that was the
maybe
game. I remember he had a buzzer beater layup against Missouri once.
okay. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but yeah, I mean, just really impressive. And I mean, obviously, we need to see what's going on with Alex Condon. I mean, I think his
Mm-hmm.
health is going to be pretty critical to how this team's able to kind of finish things down the stretch. So we'll just have to see there. But I mean, Florida's proving it can win without a lot of guys that we thought were
Yeah.
pretty key to this whole operation. So hopefully you get Martin back on Saturday, and we'll see what the deal is with Condon. But this team's in a great spot, likely moving up to the 1 seed line and projected brackets with that win.
Yeah, I mean, we lose Condon, and I'm like, man, Mississippi State is a pretty big team. They start 3
Mhm.
forwards with RJ Melendez, who can be play guard and forward. Has history with Georgia, so we know a little bit about him, what he can do. Put up like 35 on us last year in a game. And then they also have Cam Matthews, one of the bigger guys in the SEC. So if you don't have that interior presence, he can really bully you up there. And they also start their center is Michael Nwoku. So when you lose Alex Condon, it's like you're really down to Ruben Chinyelu, Thomas Houck, who for a big man, is pretty small. Same with Sam
Mhm.
Alexis. Like those are two thinner guys, more athletic. Chinyelu, a lot less developed, a lot less polished. So it's like there's some worry there that Mississippi State could go and dominate inside, which they scored like over, I think, 30 of their points inside in the first half. Like I think like 24 of their first like 26 points were inside.
Yeah, they had
Or
18 points in the paint in the first half when they
oh,
scored
18.
34, 18 of which were in the paint. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, but like so in the first half they were scoring inside pretty well. But then the second half, I mean, Thomas Houck like took that game over really. Like I
Mhm.
think I saw the possession charts like early in that first half, and it was like rebound Houck, assist Houck, offensive rebound Houck, 3-pointer Houck, assist Houck. Like it was just like in that first 5 minutes, that second half, Houck just went insane.
Mhm.
Walter Clayton Jr. 19.6 assists and 6 rebounds. That's just becoming a classic Walter Clayton Jr. game. Not really taking over the game, but that's becoming his average performance.
Yeah.
Like that's all conference level, and that's just becoming what we're seeing him do on a nightly basis. I mean, I'm excited to see when he has a crazy game again, like 30 he had against Kentucky earlier in the year. And then you also had Denzel Aberdeen go for over 20 points, 0 turnovers. I mean, we thought the bigger issue was Elijah Martin being out, but Aberdeen, I mean, we saw it a little bit last year towards the end, especially in the SEC tournament where he went for 20 in the Alabama or Texas A&M game, I think it was, and to really get us going and end up winning that game. Will Richard, 10 solid points for him, and Chinyelu also solid 10. I think we're also seeing Urban Klavzar. Like, he's not doing a lot on the stat sheet. He went 1 of 2 from 3, got 3 points tonight. But I think his ball movement is something that really adds a lot to this team. I think he's another guy that you can take care of the ball if you want to take Aberdeen out of the game, or if Walt kind of just needs a little breather on the court, just go into that shooting guard role, which I think he really excels at. So Klavzar's been a really good addition to this team.
Yeah, I mean the guard depth is just absolutely unreal. And like you said, I thought Clayton. I think Clayton's looked. I mean, he's looked good all year, but I think he's really played well. Like, hasn't missed a step these last 2 games
No.
coming back from injury. Really playing within himself well. And like you said, Aberdeen is really just coming on. A guy that missed some open shots tonight, but also made quite a few. Made 3 3-pointers. And it's just a really physical player, when it comes to securing rebounds, when it comes to, getting out, running in transition, like he just, getting to the rim and finishing, like he's really developing into a very, dependable player. So, hopefully the Gators are closer, because we haven't had Martin and Clayton playing on the court, at least together for a full game in a few games
Mm-hmm.
now. So hopefully we get that on Saturday, but really encouraging that, between Aberdeen and then, Klavzar coming off the bench and providing you a little bit there too, you just got to feel really good about where this backcourt's at.
Yeah, you do. So focusing on what's to come for the Gators, we have 4 games that we're going to be pretty heavy favorites in. Back-to-back home games against South Carolina and Oklahoma. Sorry. South Carolina. Sorry. South Carolina, the worst team in the SEC, winless in
Yeah.
conference play. At home, we know they gave us a lot of trouble last time when we went to not Williams-Brice, but we went to
Colonial Life.
Colonial Life. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
To Columbia, South Carolina. But I mean, at home, I really struggle to see how we don't win this game with ease. Like we saw Colin Boyles gave us a lot of trouble in the first 26 minutes of that game earlier in the year. But I think Houck really coming into his own. I mean, we'll see what happens with Condit. I think he has these 4 games: South Carolina, Oklahoma, LSU, and Georgia. None of those teams really have a big inside that really worries me, like offensively and defensively. I'm trying to think. I don't really think any of them have one either. That I mean, Colin Boyles obviously, but outside of him, I don't think anyone from Oklahoma. I'm more worried about their guard play, and Georgia. No, I mean, yeah. So I'm not too worried about those 4 games. So you have 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, really, to hopefully Condon can get healthy. But then you have a big gauntlet. Like Florida starts off March, home against top 10, number 8 currently, Texas A&M. That's going to be a big one. That's one that might determine if Florida's a 1 seed or not. Then you go to Alabama. That's one that if you can go undefeated into that game and you find a way to win that game, then Florida's like legitimately in the talks to win the SEC, unless Auburn's just 1 out. And then you host Ole Miss, a game that I think is kind of scary for the position because you have two huge games, top 10 matchups against A&M and Alabama. Then you have Ole Miss, who's like in that lower part of the top 25. Not very scary, but they're a good basketball team to where if you just went out for those last two games, this is one where they can just catch you off guard. But if we don't have content for those games, it's going to be tough to win more than one of those.
Yeah, and I think that's why, you know, the ceiling, like the true ceiling for this team, at least in the regular season, kind of just remains to be seen. Like I think there's a lot up in the air in that regard. But I mean, one thing's for sure, like you said, yeah, winnable stretch of games coming up here. Like, I mean, Florida really needs to find a way to go 4-0 in these games. You can't afford a slip up here, obviously, because you're like the floor is like being a 3 or 4 seed in the tournament at this point. But
I mean, I think I'd say the floor is a 3 seed, like unless there's a monumental collapse.
It might be. You'd have to lose like quite a few games down the stretch here. I mean, I think looking ahead to the next one against South Carolina, I mean, I will say that is a team that gave Florida some rebounding problems. So you do worry a little bit if Condon's not available in that game. What's going to happen there? I mean, I would hope that Florida plays better at home. You know, they haven't really, other than Missouri, no one's even really given Florida much of a fight at the O-Dome this year.
And then those weekend games have just been lights out. I mean, what are we winning by on average on weekend? Like 27 points, 30 points?
Yeah.
I mean, going back to the game a little bit, Thomas Houck was the Ken Palm MVP of the game. No real shocker there. Denzel Aberdeen was the highest offensive rating. And then you look at Florida across the nation. Now we're up to fourth and back. We're back to fourth in Ken Palm. We were fourth until we lost to Tennessee. We got the third best offense in the country and the 8th best defense. You go back to last year, we were 91st in defensive rating, and I think it was like 91st. And then we also lost Micah Hanglaw in the SEC championship game, so it's like, that's not a good look for the team. But I think something that's kind of flying under the radar, like nationally, maybe even within the fan base, the offense kind of struggled earlier in the season, in like early to mid conference play. That second half against Vanderbilt, I feel like they found something, like with Urban Klausar and just getting way more ball movement. I mean, you saw against Vanderbilt, we had a team high in assists. And then you go to the Auburn game, Walter Clayton has a Florida high and 9 assists. I think we had like 18 assists in that game, which is like second or third on the season. I don't know what the assist numbers for this game. Let me actually check those out real quick.
It was
19 assists.
Yeah, 19.
So like we're getting way better ball movement, which I think is something that people are going to underlook because our offensive rating was in the top 10 all season, in the top 5 for parts of it. And that was just because we were out talenting teams. And like Walter Clayton's just hitting threes that no one can hit at his level. And like Elijah Martin's hitting crazy turnaround threes at the buzzer. Like the offense, like it's not just us scoring points. Like we're scoring them at a consistent, we're getting easier shots.
Yeah. Like, and we're creating those too. Like I think, this is an offense that, I mean, we've talked about this before. Like it is so reliant on ball movement because there isn't like a ton of preset going on. They really just get guys out in motion and create space. So, when they're doing that at a high level, this is a really hard offense to stop. They really can only be stopped when it's like the first half that we saw that they're just not making those shots.
Yeah, they were open shots.
I mean, they had the opportunities, and then, you saw in the second half, they didn't really miss those shots, particularly from long range. And that's kind of how they were able to pull away and stretch that lead out for good.
So I heard a stat about Mississippi State going into this game. Since their game against Vanderbilt, which was January 7th or 8th. Excuse me, sorry. Since then, they had given up a double-digit amount of threes in all but 2 games. So that's a month and a week. So that's like 6. I mean, sorry, not 6. That's like 10 games there where they had given up a double-digit amount of threes, and except for 2. Those 2 games, South Carolina, probably the worst 3-point shooting team in the SEC. Georgia, probably one of the other 3 or 4 worst 3-point shooting teams in the SEC, and Georgia even had 8 on them. So I knew going into this game that we'd probably get those looks against Mississippi State, and we did. And then the second half, we really just locked down and hit those shots.
Yeah, no, 100%. Was about, I mean, I'd say that kind of 5-minute stretch to start the half was about as good basketball I've seen this team play all year.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Like, this team is like, I'm starting to believe this is a national championship level team. Like,
Yeah.
before the Auburn game, I was like, yeah, we're a national championship level team. We're a top 10 AP team. But I feel like we hadn't really proved it. Kind of like we had the big
Mhm.
win over Tennessee, but like you've seen fluke games happen many times before. But that win now, plus with this win over Mississippi State, losing everyone, Elijah Martin and Alex Condon, it really proves that Florida might be one of the three best teams in the country,
Yeah,
maybe the
absolutely. I
best.
mean, yeah, I mean, I think there's an argument to be made. You know,
There
they've
is.
beaten 2 of the top 5 teams,
Mhm.
you know, and haven't played one of, and the other one they've still got the chance to play, and they can
Yep.
prove that on the court.
Yep. Do you want to make a prediction for the upcoming game Saturday at 8:30 against South Carolina?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say I think Florida wins this one. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think it'll be easier than it was last time. I'll say they win like 84-70.
84-70. So that's a 16-point win for the 14-point win, sorry, for
Yeah.
the Gators. I think this team is going to be on it against South Carolina, like especially with how it took or not a buzzer beater, but 4 seconds, 5 seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
Will Richard layup. Plus, this team just been on it on Saturday night or Saturday games. I think this team's going to go out there and they're going to make another statement against South Carolina. I'm going to take the Gators also 84 plus like 60.
Okay. Wow.
So 24. I mean, no, I mean, what is, yeah, I'm going to say with 84-60. I'm not going to go too
Okay.
much, but I wouldn't be surprised if they win by 30. I think the team's just on
Okay.
such a roll right now. And this is a game to where it's not like South Carolina is just bad or, well, SEC bad. It's to the point to where South Carolina also, they got on us a bit. So now it's like the team wants to reprove that, okay,
Mm-hmm.
we're a lot better than this team. It's easier
Yeah.
than if we were playing, say, LSU, which we do in like a week or so. We do play them. It's easier to get them prepared for a team that almost beat them than it is for a team that's just been horrible throughout SEC play.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you guys for watching this video. We will be live Sunday nights for our Florida Gators live show. We will have more basketball talk, hopefully after a great win over the South Carolina Gamecocks, and some more some more football news with hirings. You're about to get into spring play, so we're going to have some position stuff happening. But again, thank you for watching, and go Gators.